Hey, are you thinking of moving to Arizona, but you don't really want to be squished right up against your neighbors? Maybe you are avoiding suburbs and all that comes with it, including HOAs. Maybe you want your own land, something to really call your own and feel like you've got, a piece of the earth for raising horses or for doing some gardening or even some small farming. Hi, my name's Mike Millett, and you're watching Living in Maricopa, where I cover all things Maricopa and the surrounding areas, including Casa Grande and the Phoenix metro area. In this video, I'm going to take you through 3 separate properties. They're all going to be at least an acre of land plus a building, plus a home, and just so you can start to get an idea of what it's like to buy a property like that here in Arizona. Now, there's a whole lot of these kinds of properties on the outskirts of the Phoenix metro area. I am hitting ones that are kind of southeast of the city of Maricopa, but there's plenty more options and it's going to serve as a good guideline. But let's get things going right now. So we're going to just take a couple minutes to go over the practicalities of, living on a plot of land that is over an acre, because there are some distinct differences between that and what you'll typically get in a fully built out suburb, for example. And I'll be super brief to be respectful of time, but of course, please ask questions if you have any at all. So rural homes with large plots of land, they are typically not going to be connected to city sewer, city water, and maybe not in city trash. They'll generally be connected to the local municipality's electric grid, but there can be some nuances to this, and really these things depend on the specific location. A septic system means that the wastewater is processed in a tank underground on the property. Now, it's not impossible for even a house in the suburbs to use a septic system, but usually they're all connected to sewer. There are some specific regulations that apply to septic systems when they're being installed, when they're transferring from one person to another, so like when you're buying or selling a house. So that's something you'll want to keep an eye out for. But typically, they're just not as big of a deal as people kind of tend to think they are. They just take a little personal attention and occasional maintenance. As far as water goes, very often you'll be depending on a well, and sometimes it's a private well, and sometimes it's a private but shared well. There's also some smaller water providers that serve little individual areas, usually through well water. But there can be nuances based off of agreements for well rights and whatnot, which can affect how much water you're able to use for things like watering crops. So again, this is a case-by-case basis. You'll want to look at the specifics, and these are questions to ask if you start getting into buying a plot of land. Trash service, kind of also just depends on what providers serve your area. What often happens is people in rural areas will have large trash bins that they fill up, and it's just collected periodically instead of the weekly trash that we might be used to in a suburb. Another thing to consider, and like a lot of this is probably a little bit of a no-brainer, but it's important to at least have it occur to you so that you're not overlooking it. If you are moving into a plot of land that's isn't a fully developed area, then chances are you're going to be dealing with a lot more natural critters, or at least you have the potential to. Around here, that can mean javelinas, it can mean coyotes, it can mean scorpions, it can mean rattlesnakes. Now, that doesn't mean these are all common things. Some of them are more than others, but you're a lot more likely to encounter them than you would be here in a suburb. So I know some people are really sensitive to wildlife like that, and really scared to see any of those things. So just keep in mind that it is a part of life in a rural area. And in some cases, you might encounter even more of them if you happen to be, right next to a mountain or something. Another thing to watch out for is that your property that you're trying to buy might be in a floodplain. Now, here in Arizona, we're a desert. We don't get all that much water. But because of that, our ground isn't necessarily ready to absorb water. So sometimes we'll get, maybe once or twice a year, we'll get some torrential downpour. And it's really beautiful, really feels great to the soul, in my opinion. But in some of the more rural areas, it's not set up in the same way that the suburbs are. It doesn't have the drainage and the systems to channel water to keep it out of harm's way. So you might be in a floodplain, which is something that you'll go through when you're under the process of of purchasing the home, you'll learn about that. You might have to get flood insurance. Now, flood insurance isn't very expensive. I think maybe like $40 a month, but it is there to cover you if there's catastrophic flood damage to your home. And if you're in a floodplain, a designated floodplain, then you will be required to get the flood insurance. And beyond just the damage to your home, that also means that it's a risk to people as well. So I have known, in my lifetime, 1 or 2 people that have died from flash flooding out in rural areas in Arizona. Not to say that I think that that's super dangerous, that it's a super big threat in most cases, but when there's heavy rain coming, you definitely got to be careful, definitely got to be aware of what the risks are. And I did want to cover one last thing about these large lots in rural areas. We talked about utilities a little bit already, but sometimes the utilities aren't even at the property. They haven't reached that far. That doesn't necessarily matter as much for something like septic or water, but electricity can be a big one. If there's not electricity nearby, then you, as the owner of the property, might be responsible for paying for it to reach there if you want electricity. There's of course some other options like solar, but those have some complications, of course. Now, when we talk about a property that already has a home on it, that's probably already been resolved. There's probably already utilities of some sort nearby, or you add your own. But I did want to bring it up because oftentimes when people are thinking about buying a rural place, they're also considering buying empty land, and building their own home on it. And that can also be more challenging to get a loan for sometimes if you are buying empty land and a construction loan. There are options. It's just a different avenue. All right, let's get started on the first home. And I had a little bit of an adventure out there. I was trying to show you something super affordable that still had a good amount of land. So I was looking at a 2.5 acre plot with a tiny home on it. And I was really curious to see how it was going to play out. But as I'm driving up to the property, I come to a dirt road, which is fine. And then the dirt road gets a little bumpy, which is fine. But then the bumps got kind of crazy, and I'm passing heaps of trash on the side of the road and big dips. And it just wasn't reasonable. My vehicle was already, scraping bottom before reaching those bigger dips in the road. So I called it quits on getting to this property. I did try to fly my drone over the property to get a better idea for it, because it was uncharacteristically windy out there and kind of just too much for it to handle. It was at an angle like this, just trying to stay in one place fighting the wind, and that just wasn't working out. So let's pull up the listing, see kind of what we had in store for us, and hopefully still get an idea for what it's like. So they're asking $150,000 for this. It's 2.5 acres of land. So that's nice. Okay. So here's our tiny home. I don't know the square footage in it because they just put a generic 1 square foot, which clearly it's more than 1 square foot. So it's, could probably use some work. On this plot here, I can't even tell where the land or where the home actually even is. It's just so small by comparison. So yeah, that's what I so yeah, that's the information that I got for it, and it's not a lot to go on. I'm sorry about that, but that's kind of the thing with a lot of these rural plots, is you don't know what you're gonna get. It's kind of random, and things are all over the place, and sometimes that means you get a major score, and this home might be a major score, but it's hard to say if you can't actually get to it. So if you want to look at this one, then let's go, but let's take a truck instead of what I drove out. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so we're starting off with a new build manufactured home. So that means, of course, this was built in a factory, and then they shipped it to location, they assembled it, they installed it permanently to the ground, and they also, assembled some of the furnishings and whatnot inside of it. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath, just under 200,000 square feet, so built in 2024. It's on a 1.5 acre lot, and that's important because in Pinal County, where this is located, they have to be at least 1.25 acres to have horses on property without having exceptions made, without filing with the county. So But there are manufactured homes that are sold like this. There's also a few builders that will build stick build homes, which is, traditional, built from the ground up on location. So manufactured homes now, in a lot of cases, they're actually really good quality compared to what they used to be, in my opinion. That doesn't mean it's the exact same, but it is a big improvement. And these ones claim to be, like these particular manufactured homes, they claim to be 25 to 50% more energy efficient than a traditional. So let's hop inside. It was too windy to be trying to talk out there. It was just a lot of windy noise. So let's see what we get. Here it is. So it's a just under 2,000 square foot, new manufactured home. And, it's got some interesting touches to it. Some features that you might, be more likely to see in a stick build home, which is what we call a home that's, built from the ground up, versus a manufactured home. But then it's also obviously a manufactured home at the same time. So first off, in the kitchen, this countertop here, this island, it looks like quartz, but it's definitely something manufactured, something man-made. It's not natural stone, so I can't quite figure out if it's quartz or if it's some sort of plastic composite. And the rest of the countertops in the house are all laminate. We've got gas appliances, does come with a fridge. This right here is interesting. This is the first time I've seen this advertised like this. So they're willing to pay 2.5% co-broke at this for this home. And what that means is that they would help or completely pay for your buyer's agent to help you purchase the home under contract. So you wouldn't be responsible for the full amount or even any amount. Now, 2.5 might be a little bit low. I think most realtors are asking for 3%, but that is not a standard. It is not anything that's set in stone. It's always negotiable. So I do typically ask my clients for 3%. So in this situation,
if you love a home that's offering 2.5%, I am open to reducing my compensation to 2.5%, so you're not on the hook for it.
So there's a lot of nuance to that. I've actually never had a buyer pay me any of my buyer compensation, but it is always a possibility. So let's head into the, oh, by the way, excuse me. I wanted to point out that that walk around pantry, it's like big. This is something you don't usually see in homes, except for in much higher price points. And then we have the primary bedroom, which is also a good size. So not what you would typically see in a manufactured home. It is, more than big enough for a king size bed and plenty of extra space. There's a walk-in closet. Okay. All right, and the primary bathroom. So we've got, toilet over here. There's no door here, but it'd be fairly easy to add one in, though it's a high ceiling. These are 9-foot ceilings, by the way. So also not what you'd see in a traditional manufactured home, although it is becoming more common. Like I said, the laminate countertops. And then we've got this extra little closet linen area. Okay. This vent here, by the way, is not for air conditioning or heating. That is to allow airflow between the two rooms, okay? So that you'll have fewer issues like homes used to have, and in some cases still do, where you close a door and every other door in the house, jitters or makes noise, things like that. Okay, so here's an example of kind of what I'm talking about with it's still very much a manufactured home. Like this floor vent is not something we see in newer homes at all here. Probably nothing newer than like the 80s, give or take. And it's removable. And it's not quite flush because things shift in transit because it has to be built one place and moved to another. This is also something we don't usually see in new build homes in Arizona. The breaker boxes are almost always outside. And then there's also like this little crack by the breaker box. Not a big deal. It's probably purely cosmetic, but something that probably happened in shipping. And an inspector would of course, help you understand if that is going to be a bigger issue. And we've of course got the air handler inside and the water heater inside. Okay. And it looks like they cut some strips of drywall onto that and attached it to the back of this closet door. So I'm not sure why. All right, so let's head over to the 3 bedrooms. All right. So this is, you know, maybe this one's maybe a little on the smaller side. And a smallish closet. Technically a walk-in, you could close the door. All right, and then bedroom number 2. So this one's definitely bigger. Okay, with a view to the front. And these are all dual pane windows, of course. Closet's about the same as the last one. Okay, and this one is, I think, maybe even a little bit bigger than the last bedroom. Okay, closet looks very familiar. And then we have a bathroom. Okay, so a lot of things are installed after the home is put in place, and you can tell that this is probably one of them. There's signs of, you know, some work done there, which, you know, maybe it isn't ideal that there are signs that I can tell. But anyway, there's the Ecobee smart thermostat too. So like the place isn't flawless, but it's really nice compared to a lot of you know, manufactured homes that I've seen. I keep on shocking myself. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because not many people are coming through here necessarily, but when I was walking around turning on lights, I got shocked probably 8 times. And again, just now. But then as far as the home goes, people aren't buying out here necessarily for the home. This is just a good place to park yourself when you're not outside. What's really great about it, of course, is the is just the size of it. At 1.5 acres, you know, you've got a lot of room to play with. So if you want a garden, if you have horses, if you want, you know, a lot of chickens, land is what these homes are all about. And the privacy, the seclusion, not being, you know, sandwiched next to your neighbors like you are in a suburb or an exurb like Maricopa. All right, let's, I think we covered this one pretty well. Let's head over to number 3, all right? All right, I wanted to take just another quick moment. You know, all my contact information is in the notes below the video. And as always, if you have any questions at all, or if you're thinking of moving to the Maricopa, Phoenix, Casa Grande areas in the next 9 days, 9 months, or whatever your time frame is, reach out, let's connect, ask your questions, because now is the time to start getting this figured out. And it really helps to have an expert in the area on your side fighting for you and just answering things for you. And if you can't tell, I love answering questions. I love informing people and helping them be as educated as possible, you know, through these complicated maneuvers, these complicated transactions. So let's connect, let's make this the smoothest move possible. And let's get back to the video. All right, this next home is a 4-bed, 2-bath. It's 1,800 square foot. They're asking $619,000 for it, really $620,000. And it's a almost 4-acre lot. Now this one's quite a bit more developed than either of the last two, obviously, and there's more established neighborhoods around, although they're all rural as well. But let's head inside and see what we get. So, you're gonna notice that there's a lot going on in this house, and I can't really necessarily take the time to point out all of it for this video because it would be way too long, but I'll try to focus on some of the important things and maybe teach you a little bit about Arizona real estate in the process. So we're gonna head to the kitchen first. You'll notice that I do only go to vacant houses for these videos, so like I've mentioned before, I don't wanna disturb you know, owners and make them leave for me to make a video. I obviously will do that in person if I'm showing you a home, but this home only looks semi-vacant. and that is because it is a probate estate sale. So what probably happened is the sellers, or excuse me, the owners of the home passed away, and you know, the inheritors, whoever they may be, are selling the home. And you know, that might be alarming for some people. I personally don't, it wouldn't really matter to me much if people passed away in the home. As far as the home itself goes, obviously any death can be tragic, but the home itself, that doesn't make me nervous. But for some people that might. Pantry, did I already show you that? Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to talk as I and think as I walk around. Kitchen, stone countertop, good amount of cabinetry there. These are 8-foot ceilings, so not super tall. But let's see, where was I? So in Arizona, if someone passed away in the home, the seller is not required to disclose that. It is not a material fact as far as the law is concerned. The sellers and the agent may not lie about it. They're not allowed to claim that nobody died in the home when someone did, but they don't have to actually disclose and share the information. So if you like a home and you suspect that someone might have passed away, you can try asking neighbors, you can try looking up online records, things like that. And you can try asking the agent too, but you may or may not get the answer from them. All right, so primary bathroom, tile for the shower area, linen closet right here. I kind of like how it has that sink right here and then a secondary sink externally, so that you can have more than one person using it without necessarily crowding each other. This home is a little bit older, but it's had some upgrades. These floors are vinyl plank. These are interesting. These look almost like high school lockers. Tile here and there, showers. All right, bedrooms. The floor, it feels like it's a little uneven here and there. And it actually kind of feels like it's on the ridges, or excuse me, on the joints between the planks, which makes me wonder if there hasn't been water damage here. Now, that's another kind of important thing to keep in mind is in a situation like this, the person actually selling the home probably never lived here. And so they're not gonna have information. The seller is required to disclose material facts, so things that they know to be wrong with the property that they are aware of. If they're not aware of what's happened in the home, then they can't disclose it. So there's a little bit more risk associated with that. All the more reason to get a great home inspection, a thorough home inspection. But a home inspector is not going to be able to pull up planks and see if there's damage there, okay? All right, we've got this front room. I kind of like also how this home has, you know, these multiple rooms up front. It feels very like farmhousey to me, which, you know, is basically what this is. But yeah, kitchen table here, a study area over there, living room here, and those all having their own distinct spots, their own distinct rooms. It feels nice to me. I like it. Okay, a sliding glass door to the rear. This front door is popping open on me. I'll relock it. All right, so let's go back through the kitchen. We've got the laundry room and also the water heater in here as well. Oops, don't know if you can see that, but, and just kind of I guess kind of a mud room, storage and things. I'm gonna try to go back here and see if the wind isn't terrible. Okay, so here we are in the backyard, still just hiding from the wind on the microphone. Yeah, Yeah, there's a lot going on here. This right here, by the way, is an oleander. So these can be really pretty trees. They're really, or bushes, shrubs. They can, they're used a lot in landscaping because they are super, super hardy and survivable. Well, they are, but they are also super poisonous, like ultra poisonous. If a kid eats even one of those leaves, it could kill them. So I don't like them. I don't like having them around, even though I have some in my own yard. But just keep in mind, like, they do taste really bitter. So if someone gets a taste of it, they're gonna reject it. Like, it's gross, or so I'm told. But just be aware. This pool looks a little bit like it's worse for wear. It did say it has a new liner. I'm not seeing that in this pool, but could very well be. But I do like the raised deck for the pool. That's a nice touch. And we've also got a gazebo with a lot of room for, you know, whatever you're going to use a gazebo for. We also have a lot of room for the horse run, for them to get around. Another storage shed with random personal property still in it. And just some different structures, including a significant amount of storage. And it looks like these are, you know, shipping containers that have been converted. There's supposed to be a couple of tortoises that are wandering around. I wasn't able to find them. I was kind of hoping to say hello, and you know, I guess that's kind of all you do with tortoises wandering around, but it is what it is. But yeah, just in this situation, it kind of just, you know, you're likely to inherit everything, all the personal property that's on this property, because the sellers don't seem interested in taking it out. They took what they needed to, the clothes and maybe valuables, and also food, so it doesn't spoil and, you know, make the place horrible. But all this stuff is yours, for better or for worse. You might be able to negotiate that they clear a lot of it out, seeing as how a lot of it could be considered junk. But just kind of keep in mind, again, one of those just different situations. Everything is managed differently. Things happen differently all the time, and requires kind of a fine-tooth comb to understand how things are going to work in these rural homes that don't have the same regulations, or don't have the same order as a suburb home does. All right, so those were the 3 homes that I was trying to show you today. You'll notice that they were all vacant. I've mentioned before that I try to keep these, I try not to bother owners if they're currently living in the home. I just show vacant homes. But there are, well, there's one in particular, honorable mention, that I wanted to show you really quick. Just to kind of show you how, you know, how varied these homes can be, and give you some ideas for what your options might be. So, not this one. That one's, I'm just curious about the size. That one's 915,000 at 3,100 square feet. Let's see, 800,000 at 320 or 3,221 square feet. This one is smaller than those two. It's a little bit cheaper, but definitely smaller. But it's really unique. Let's actually show you how it's placed. Okay, so you can see here it's like on a mountainside, and it's got a private driveway there. It's on over 3 acres of land. Obviously, there's lots of great hiking. In fact, that looks like a little ramada there. And just my kudos to whoever took these shots. That really paints it. It's got a swimming pool with a view, and the interior view is great. It's definitely got a lot of modern look to it. It was built in 2021, but that view there is really cool. Obviously, that looks like those all slide open. I wonder if it's, I think it's probably motorized. But yeah, just a cool looking home. If you want land for yourself, if you want easy hiking, then this one's still available as of right now. There's our floor plan. But yeah, lots of different kinds of places here in Maricopa. And a garden bed. Okay, there's a garden bed too. That's cool. All that land there, and they still do a garden bed. All right, that is it for this video. You know, I hope it was helpful in illustrating how varied and diverse the lots, or the properties with lots, are here in Maricopa and surrounding Maricopa. There's a ton of options. If you're looking for a shack, or, you know, a really nice home, chances are we've got it. If you're looking for land, same thing. And there's still a lot of large plots and smaller plots available. And if you're looking for some place to house your horses, then this is also a great place for that. But thank you so much for watching the whole video if you made it all the way here. Super helpful to me, and it's very impressive as well. But make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, plus the bell icon, of course. And if you are even thinking of moving to Maricopa or Casa Grande or, you know, Phoenix metro area, then reach out. Let's connect. Shoot me an email, text, or whatever. And I love answering questions. I love helping people decide, you know, maybe Arizona, maybe Maricopa isn't right for you, but maybe it is. And sometimes it really helps to have someone on the inside helping you get things figured out. But I appreciate you, and I will catch you on the next video. Thank you. Bye. Local they'll generally speaking again, whose idea was it for me to speak?